with building this so fast, we have neglected to read books and to separate our books by fiction versus nonfiction, and what is real in the 3D reality versus what we're creating with our minds. But not that it's not important, because Tesla and Einstein used it as well, and said the most important thing, or the most important thing we do, is connect to the source or overhead, and then bring it down to the imagination, and through that imagination comes what we find that we create in the 3D reality. And so that all needs to be a story or a separate class in Ufology 101. Now, I'm right at the 30-minute mark, and I don't know how long this is supposed to be, because it's coming out of wherever we don't know comes, and we try to bring it down to reality and help others, because we're in service to others, and as we help ourselves, we can help other people. So as I help myself in Ufology 101, and I know so much I couldn't possibly tell you what all I've collected in soon to be 67 years, but apparently those that I work with in the highest levels of existence in other universes and other dimensions, and the oversoul, there's a level of the oversouls. Then we go up to the all is one God before the original source, because God has always been, is even in science, it goes back to zero. God is zero, and 0 point energy is part of what we're going to be entering into. And the 0 point energy is one part of our existence, where in the past a lot of that 0 point, or God, our synergy, or the ocean, with us being one drop of the ocean, is entering. And so 0 point energy, and how we go forward with energy, is a matter of communication and expression, and how we're going to use energy on the planet. And in the past, we've built it from what Tesla and Einstein basically gave us lights at the World's Fair, and there was a contest. So we're going to have to talk about competition in energy and 0 point energy in the grid, and that will lead us into pyramidology. So stop all that 0 point energy and the movies and all of that, and how we're going to work together, and somebody figure out how we're going to do a class on all that. So the next, stop there. Now the next class is going to lead us into the future, visionaries, futurology, parapsychology, phenomenology, and a lot of what people call pyramidology, because they're having conferences, including the Global Pyramid Con out of Chicago with Marta Thomas, because that was her message and calling, and I decided to support her in 2016, and she gave me roughly $80 to $100 for gas and to get back home, because I drove myself up there and stayed in her house. And she was a MUFON investigator, she told me, bless her heart. She went ahead out of the book I told you about that we were restructuring with Mutual UFO Network and Captain McDonald back in Dayton, Ohio. Before, it was James Carrion was involved at the time, and he's a friend of mine in social media. Then Captain McDonald, or Captain Donald, I think it was like old McDonald. I thought he was, I won't go into an investigation on him, but he was working for the old guys in the director positions, or whoever was back then in charge of the nonprofit and the money. They actually have a bank account where all the money goes into the nonprofit, and I don't know who is in control of the money. But if you're in Mutual UFO Network, just follow the money and then let them tell you where it went, because that is all going to be a part in the future of the, not just the mechanics of Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON for all of us volunteers out here. But there's a lot of other people that want to know about pyramidology and how we are connecting the grids of finding all the pyramids. So now there's all types of anthropology, archaeology, and they want to have their own separate from MUFON. So I don't know how Marta's handling that. I haven't asked her, but I did get to meet her in human form, in person, and bless her heart, she had one track for pyramidology for us in Ufology 101, and bringing all the speakers and all the archaeologists, anthropologists together, including a friend of ours out of Houston, and I'm not going to mention his name, but most people know that he discovered another pyramid. And then now we're working on who is going to tell us the truth of Antarctica, and how do we believe that in pyramidology, if there's really one under the ice, and did the magnetic poles shift? And in pyramidology, now these are people I've talked to all over the world, is the fact that the Russians were coming to me, and via other countries and other people, because we were going to talk about the universe and the universal levels and the energy in Gaia, 0 point energy, and how we are going to go forward in pyramidology as to proving our past, and that yes, we can do this with 0 point energy and the pyramidology and hooking up all the pyramids again. And people are going, well, aren't these archaic? Aren't these relics? And yes, and we have well over 350 already that we know about. So if you don't know about pyramidology, that's a whole other class and chapter of Ufology 101. So we're going to keep pyramidology separate from phenomenology, although it goes in, and both go. We got alienology, ufology, we've got phenomenology, cosmology, and the paranormal realm has separated. Just so you know, paranormal, everything can fall under cosmology and metaphysics in many of the libraries. And so what it is we want to help and keep our American Library Association intact. We also want to keep our teachers and our educational system intact, and how we're moving forward in computers and what we allow our children to use intact. But how does that affect pyramidology? Or pyramidology affect all of that is the fact that we have all these tools, and when we're going forward in the future, we're going to need more cell towers to use our computers and our cell phones. And how are we going to make movies and show people pyramidology and a lot of our archaeology, anthropology, and go back to Indiana Jones and movies, because movies, even with pyramidology, have helped us with documentaries. And people have spent a lot of money in searching pyramids for themselves. So we have a lot of people with their own life story and their biographies and what they found out to be true for them in history. And we're going to go back historically with pyramidology, but we also have phenomenology, and then we can go back to now remember, pyramidology, we're going to have classes on that in Ufology 101, phenomenology, and the mind and consciousness, because it seems to be when we step over into energy from 0 point energy and pyramidology into consciousness, into the biological field, then we have phenomenology and the levels of beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma, sigma, and tau, 7 levels, and we're going to put that in consciousness events and how we're going forward. And many people have seen or talked about at these conferences that the chakra system, or now some of them call the ascension, kids today. Anyway, we've gotten the Ascension Psychic Awakening classes, and I did my studies back with Aquarian bookstore in Houston near Rice University, and my mother was just getting started in a lot of that from Rice University, so we mixed writing with books and publishing, and we wanted to keep all that going, but it had to do with where are we going to put our books, because there's not a place on the bookshelf. It's not been invented yet. So even though everything I'm talking about in Ufology 101 goes under my book, Knowing Cosmology, we also have the How to Social Network Metaphysics, because we were using cyberspace, and it still needed sort of to be printed in a book, and then How to Do Events and Event Planning, and it's gotten all mixed up. But that can be another class on How to Social Network Metaphysics and how we're using social media groups. So whoever you are out there in Ufology 101 that wants to help with running social media and how to social network metaphysics and get your events, we have a book on that already. So that's all in my ACO club. Now, ACO, and we can use that acronym for Alien Contact Organization. We can use it for American Communication Online. Of course, you know, ACO they use in the LLCs and the corporations as Affordable Care, I believe, organization or something like that. But anyway, we can do what we've done, but I haven't made any money at all this. So there's very little money in this, so we're going to call it a hobby. So the federal government can know that the ACO club never made any money. It was, I guess you could say, an unincorporated association, if it had to be anything, I'm not sure, because we've been free out in social media. And you can blame Facebook if you want, but there's a lot of people making a lot of money in backing Facebook, and a lot of money in Amazon, because we've been led, I guess you could say, like sheepled in Ufology 101, as the fact that we know we've been guided and educated to use cyberspace and virtual reality, and people can't differentiate a lot of times between fiction and nonfiction. As we grew so fast with computers, we have cause and effect. So I guess cause and effect, there's a book we use. Let me see if I can find that. I'm trying to think of Synchronicity's book for that. Synchronicity, yes. And also, we need how we got to our conferences and our themes that go back into the global history. So we're using various books to bridge between matter and mind, and then the balance of history and the themes in global history in Ufology 101, because history predates Ufology 101. So we'll look at, if you want to, various books that were written and how we go forward with the balance and themes in global history, and synchronicity, the bridge between matter and mind, is parts of our misinformation, disinformation, and information classes. And again, that's a whole class of what's been written and what books do we really want to use, or do we want to read at all, because people are going to tell you that they're going to stop reading and just watch videos and play video games. And this is a concern now for everybody in Ufology 101, because they don't have anything to do and they have more time to learn, but they have time on their hands to do more playing of games. So we've got to get control of that in Ufology 101 and expect someone to take the lead. And this is where we get into not only physical, biological, and conscious thoughts, is the fact that we have the integrative medicine. Now, I'm going to stop there. So somebody use that separate, whatever I've just talked about, as a separate part of our Ufology 101. Now let's go into integrative medicine and what that entails. The federal government has a program, and especially dealing with cancer in the future. And why would integrative medicine be in Ufology 101? Because you really need to understand that we do have a part of our medical field in natural versus